This week on Art of the Air features Midwest-based contemporary painter Anna Ryan Drew, who uses self-portraiture to explore the complexities of the human psyche. Next, audiobook narrator Shelb will be voicing Sandy Young's book, Divine Vintage. Our spotlights on the 2026 Northwest Indiana Listen to Your Mother on May 3rd at Hobart Art Theater with director Carrie Bedwell.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.
Welcome. You're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Media, 89.1 FM, WVLP 103.1 FM, our weekly program covering the arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. I'm Larry Breckner of New Perspectives Photography, right alongside here with Esther Golden of The Nest in Michigan City.
Aloha, everyone.
We're your hosts for Art on the Air. Art on the Air is heard every Sunday at 7 p.m. on Lakeshore Public Media, 89.1 FM, also streaming live at lakeshorepublicmedia.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Media's website as a podcast. Also heard on Friday at 11 a.m. and Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP 103.1 FM, streaming live at wvlp.org. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Media. Information about Art on the Air is available at our website, breck.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our show is available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for information about upcoming shows and interviews. We'd like to welcome back to Art on the Air Spotlight, Carrie Bedwell, who is, I guess you might call the CEO and manager and everything of the entire Listen to Your Mother, which is 2026. She's been doing this several years now, and they have a different theme, which we're going to be talking about. Motherhood is Wicked, and she'll tell us all about dates and everything. Carrie, welcome back to Art on the Air Spotlight.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate you letting me be on here and sharing info about the show.
Yeah, we love talking with you.
Maybe for our audience who's not familiar with it, tell us a little bit about what Listen to Your Mother is about, and then our specific Northwest Indiana version.
Sure. So Listen to Your Mother is a series of live readings and performances by local writers about motherhood. Men and women both participate. This year we do have a full cast of females, however, and just covering the stories, songs, performances, cover just a wide variety of different topics, all related to motherhood. And
your theme this year is what?
Motherhood is wicked. So we're going with the wicked theme.
So, Carrie, what's the age range kind of performers? Do you get like great-great-grandmothers as well as maybe,
we do. So the ages run a wide gamut. A couple of years ago, we even had our first high school student participate, and that was great. This year's show, I would say we're probably from the late 20s to 60s. So a wide variety of age groups and topics.
So how did you get involved with doing this? Did you actually participate in another Listen to Your Mother somewhere else? Or what brought this to, hey, I'm going to take this thing on?
Yes. So in 2014, I auditioned under someone else who was producing the show at the time. And it was held at Memorial Opera House. And I was cast in the show, fell in love with it. A few years later, it was Sans, a producer and director, and I jumped in to take over the reins and have been doing this for 9 years now, but 8 shows due to COVID. So,
can you just sort of briefly tell us what that story was about that you did at Memorial Opera House?
Yes. So in January of 2014, we got this call out of the blue. We had been trying to adopt, and we were blessed with our son. He was already here. And we went and met him and his birth mother in Indianapolis, and we became his parents on January 14th of 2014. And so I had talked about our journey because, to finding him, because it had been like a 2.5 year journey with lots of bumps in the road. So I was able to share that.
So how many people do you have actually? I know you go through an audition process that was
Yes.
all the way back, I think, in the 31st. But tell us about the process and rehearsals and, how many people involved.
So there's 11 people in the cast this year. We auditioned virtually this year to try to make it more convenient for moms with kids, etc. And then from there, I kind of looked at what pieces sort of went together. And obviously, you need some funny, some sad, some in between to create the show.
And how long does it run? I mean, do you run just straight through? Do you do that and do an intermission or something? Or how is the structure?
Typically, we've done an intermission when we've had around 16 speakers, but this year I'm not sure yet. I want to figure that out a little better. We may just go straight through.
So it's mothers and motherhood in all its complexities, right? Not just
Yes.
the tender, good stuff.
Yes. And this year we kind of have an interesting one about why someone does not want to be a mother. So runs all gamuts. So the show is May 3rd, Hobart Art Theater, 3 p.m. Tickets start at $25. We do have some VIP for $60 that come with seating up front, some food and beverage, and a swag bag. And you can look on Ticket Leap for those tickets, or Hobart Art Theater also. If you look on their page, they're advertising for us as well.
And do you have a website or Facebook page for the event?
We currently don't. We do have the audition Facebook page that we do still share information on, and that's LTYM NWI26 if anyone's interested in looking there.
Yeah, and if they've missed out on this one, you plan to do this in 2027?
Absolutely.
So they could come out, see how it is, and maybe they want to tell their story.
Yes, we welcome anyone and everyone to audition.
Well, and what do they need to do for the audition? I mean, since they're doing it virtually, just talk?
Oh, so what they did is they sent their piece and then they shared a video of themselves reading it. And it has to remain around 5 minutes in length. So, that all factors into how long the show will be. So.
Well, we appreciate coming on Art of the Year Spotlight. That's Motherhood is Wicked. Listen to Your Mother, NWI 2026. The show is at May 3rd, Hobart Art Theater, 3 p.m. Carrie Bedwell, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yes, and just one more thing. We're benefiting Meals on Wheels, Northwest Indiana. So come on out and support us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And a Spotlight Extra. Northwest Indiana is going to have NWI Fun Ball. You can find on Facebook. Will be a sportstainment with games, mixed baseball, Broadway on Thursday nights, and it'll be at 117 119th Street in downtown Whiting. And it'll have their own version of the Savannah Bananas right there. Find out more information online. This is Pledge Week for your public radio station. And Art on the Air encourages our loyal listeners to support this station by making a monthly sustaining pledge, so we may continue to bring you this great program. Art on the Air Spotlight and the complete 1-hour program on Sunday is brought to you by Ember Forge Consulting, with end-to-end expertise in learning strategy, design, and implementation. Ember Forge turns your organization's knowledge into impact. To learn more, visit emberforgeconsulting.com. And as a reminder, if you'd like to have your event on Art on the Air Spotlight or have a longer feature interview, email us at aota@brech.com. That's aota@brech.com.
This is author Christopher Grayson, and you're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Media, 89.1 FM, and on WVLP 103.1 FM.
We are happy to welcome Anna Ryan Drew to Art on the Air. Anna is a Midwest-raised contemporary painter whose work explores the intersection of creativity, biology, and spirituality. She has been creating art for nearly 4 decades and studied at the University of Michigan, where she began using self-portraiture to explore the complexities of the human psyche. She also holds a master's degree in social work, and her background in human development and emotional resilience informs themes that run through her work. Her lived experience with bipolar disorder has deeply shaped her creative process, which investigates transformation, regulation, and the human capacity to move from chaos toward coherence. Thank you for joining us on Art on the Air. Aloha and welcome, Anna. It's wonderful meeting you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Well, Anna, our first question usually starts out with your origin story. And I always tee it up by saying how you got from where you were to where you are now. So tell us all about yourself.
Well, I was raised in the Midwest in a town called Niles, Michigan, and my mother was an artist, so I kind of was born into the lineage of creativity and art. So I often spent time when I was very young in her studio. And then growing up, she was quite a pioneer. Her name was Nancy Drew. She had several stores, and one in Chicago, and a cartoon in the South Bend Tribune. And so I watched her kind of navigate art shows and public service and catch all of creative things. So that was kind of a baseline. The,
That's a
the
very that's a nice one.
Yeah. So, I would wake up in the morning and then I would go to get ready for school, and there would be all of a sudden, wasn't there the day before, but there would be a writing on the wall. Good morning, I love you, Anna, Mitt, Maggie. Have a great day, in paint, in blue paint, on the wall. So she painted on everything, walls, furniture, clothes. So I feel like that
You're
was,
carrying that legacy on.
yeah, like yes, yes. Well, if I could match it in that way, but she is an incredible artist, so
So
yeah.
what was the actual school time like? So what were art experiences fostered in elementary school, middle school, high school?
I think somewhat, but more by my mother. It was always kind of like in that role versus in an academic role until I hit, I think, high school and then made it more of a focus. But it was definitely at home. And then, of course, when I went to Michigan, it was to go back a little bit. When before I went to Michigan, I went to an art school and had basically this expansive experience, which introduced me to the term bipolar. And so, in that manic episode, my first manic episode when I was 18, I went then switched schools and went to the University of Michigan. And I was so fragile at that point, I couldn't really, well, I might have been able to, but I couldn't really be in a structured class with evaluation and judgment. So these women in the program took me in and said, well, we'll do independent studies with you, and you can begin working on these portraits that you want to work on and explore kind of all of this shame and all of the emotion that came with that diagnosis and other things. So that was the start of the self portraits was at Michigan.
So that was your first. Well, now that you think back on it, can you think of any other, like earlier? Can you think of maybe things that you were experiencing that was either in that manic or depressive sort of state before the diagnosis?
No, there was chaos in art in terms of, my beautiful mother. There's definitely an energy of phonetic chaos.
Mm.
And I would say before I was diagnosed or pathologized with that diagnosis, I had an expansive nature anyway, if that answers the question.
Yeah.
Well, and then early, and this is in your biography, you started painting at 3. I mean, obviously you had kind of a wonderful environment with your mother, but tell us about some of the subjects you did back then.
Oh, that was just a completely exploratory, just do whatever you want. Do whatever you want with the paint. I mean, that was the kind of advice from my mother. It was because her work was so whimsical. She was professionally trained, but when when she got out of that setting or that system, she very much decided that she was just going to paint quickly and paint in this whimsical way and um, use words in the paintings. Very much like a cross between, a contemporary woman abstract artist and a folk artist. Um, so I was given materials, and when I say like there was paint everywhere, there was paint on the floor, on the on everything. Like not there was no drop cloth or nice oil set brush thing to get it. No, it was all like everywhere, which was so beautiful. Um, yeah, that what makes me feel different sometimes, being raised where everything was, oh, there was no limit to what you could do with the paint or what you could do with the material.
So you weren't getting yelled at for drawing with crayons on the walls.
No, no, right. No, no, yeah, it was boundless.
So tell us about how your work has evolved. I know you work, in acrylic, if I'm mistaken. And tell us about how, from the time your early college career, you started developing yourself as an artist.
Well, I started with the self-portraits and I stayed with the self-portraits. And then I feel like I was influenced a bit by culture and mainstream and what was living room aesthetic. And so I did start doing some abstracts kind of from that space originally, and then realized that it wasn't quite aligned with, where my work was going creativity, like the creation of my work, it wasn't really aligned. So I kept on doing the self-portraits though, and I think that those have been like I feel like my work now is like this biography of the the intersection of those things of biology, creativity, and spirituality. So my experience is with bipolar. So if you go and stand in my work and you were in my studio, we could find pieces and I would say, oh yeah, that one is from this time period. And then it would be, okay, no, this one's more regulated. So my work now feels much more regulated because I'm much more regulated because of the enhancement of the biological piece of the thing I'm talking about with the spirituality and the creativity and the biology. Because since I have done this work in metabolic psychiatry, the biology of my brain has improved and has changed and is like a different brain. So now I feel like I'm painting with a different brain. So now that everything's resourced, I now can create from a different sense of cohesion. And I feel like that transfers to the person who is viewing it as well. So it's just kind of a interesting expression of humanity and what that looks like in different states.
So how would you describe your work, like in terms of realistic, stylistic, just kind of an arts level? If it's something we're saying that you've
The
talked
art
about.
speak, you want to talk about the art speak, Larry?
Yeah.
Yeah. In art speak, I would say contemporary American women painter, but also mixed media. And I would say that it is expressive and very abstract um, in some of the work.
I want to ask about your portraits, like those
Go ahead.
first portraits to now. So, when you were first doing a portrait, because I know artists, and now, well, I'll lead up to the last question later. So, were you using photographs? Were you using a mirror? Were you just using your imagination for knowing in knowing
Right?
your face? Yeah.
Right. I was using a mirror and I would sit on the floor and I would do these gestural faces and how we do like the contour drawings and like go through all those things in the art school model. So I just remember though like thinking to myself, this doesn't match. I'm not sure this matches. Like, because I so wanted, I just like, if it could just be super realistic and I could just, but it wasn't, that's not what was coming through me. What was coming through me was a very potent, poignant human experience of shame or
Right.
of
So
triumph.
raw. It's so
Yeah.
raw. And that's, yeah.
Yeah.
And you get that feeling from your paint, the way you apply it and stuff. It expresses that energy in those portraits. I don't know what time frame I was looking at of the portraits necessarily because there were no dates on them, but you feel those emotions.
Yes, and I think when it started out, I called them all Ye of Little Faith. And I would put these halos on the portrait, and I um, didn't have faith in something greater than myself because I didn't understand how that greater thing would allow what had happened in my life or and I painted like that over and over with the little faith, over and over with the little faith. Yes, a crown. And so then one day in my studio, after I had got back from, like I went to New York because, everyone thinks, okay, go to New York. That's like the thing. And then they told me in New York, go to the Frieze, go to the Basel, go to all the things. That's what you need to do if you want to be a real artist. All this, um, it's like a circus.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I came back and I was doing a portrait, and then I heard when I was in the studio, put a crown on the portrait. And I remember thinking or saying, I don't think I said it out loud. I think I thought it. I said, I don't like crowns. And I don't even know why I would put a crown on this painting right now. But it was a very distinct spiritual experience. Like, no, this is what we're moving towards. And then I understood that once the portraits moved towards the crown, in no relation to what's happening culturally right now,
Hmm.
the um there was an empowerment, a embodiment, a strengthening of spirit or hope or faith that went away from the portraits that were just the aura or the sense of little faith. So once that happened, I think that changed a lot of how I did the work. And then I just was like totally into the crowns, and the crowns were like everywhere in my work. So I still like a crown. It's definitely was a series of, or part of the collection, part of the whole, to connect to that the worthiness aspect of the human spirit. And now it comes in a different form with the
Do you still do
abstract
the
work.
Crown Academy rituals and things like that?
I do something else. I do a dream merchants group, which is a little bit different, but I still do some coaching or presenting kind of in a different lane. But the artwork, I think, has shifted from that kind of survival that a lot of the faces have into a more cohesive, like what you see behind me, which the audience can't see, but things that are being created more from that place of regulation.
Something else I've seen on your website that you do that's a kind of related, the art of sound bowl healing with resonance and guided sound and visual immersion, and you're part of that. Tell us about what that's about.
So the vision I had was to create these pieces from this regulated nervous system. And as I've had and observed people in front of them, the transference of that feeling of regulation has been noted a lot, like in the energy of the pieces. And so I wanted to create an experience where I could do that live in terms of not me painting. I will paint two very large scale pieces, two sound bowl healing audio, and then those pieces will be hung in this chapel, which is from I think it is 1840, Smith's Chapel. And then I will have Zelamea Sun healer there with her bowls, and then people will experience the pieces in a. It's so beautiful in the church. It's like you're inside a movie or something because it's so peaceful and beautiful. Anyway, so she will do her bowls, and then I will do the painting part and interact with people. I'm also in the middle of a book, so I'll probably read from that book some of the experiences, and then just give people that transmutation of a regulated nervous system.
Wow.
So, in your therapeutic practice, do you offer, is art part of maybe if you feel a client could benefit from art, is that part of your practice or
Yes,
just
I've
part of
done.
your personal practice?
No, I have done like edge sessions where I will take clients in front of like very large pieces of canvas and work with them on what that brings out to the nervous system and how to utilize that to integrate more healing and regulation.
Do you still work with, you did a workshop with Awakening Tide. Are you still collaborating with them?
We have an awesome relationship, and I love that organization. I think we've talked about doing something in the future for sure. Um, and I look forward to that because it's a great organization.
And the previous thing we talked about, even though the broadcast of this will occur after it, is April 26th, 2 p.m. Eastern at Smith Chapel in Niles. So, and there's a fee, but they can go to your website to find out about it under events. And so that's one of the things you have coming up.
Yeah, they can go to ardrewartist.com and find more information there or on my Instagram, which is a.r.drew.art on Instagram is a good way to kind of follow along.
Do you have any upcoming exhibits beyond that, like into late spring, early summer, or throughout the year? Anything that's coming up, either solo exhibits or you're going to be part of something?
Well, I'm going to be doing a solo exhibit called Mana, and that's because it stems from an experience I had where I wanted to name Mania Mana and then realized that mana is something from the Bible. And it was just an interesting coincidence. And so I'll be doing a show probably, yeah, in the fall, but I haven't decided on location yet for that show. I'm just kind of keep preparing and then yeah, just doing the working with clients, doing coaching some, and then just keep making the art.
And now you're looking for a venue in the South Bend area, Elkhart, or
I think it will find me. I'm thinking, maybe Chicago. I'm thinking maybe New York, and but I'm letting it unravel because I
right.
find when I let it unravel, then what shows up is better than I can make up.
Is there any art that you haven't done that you'd like to try? I mean, you've kind of established your whole system here, but it's like, gee, I wish I could do sculpting or whatever it is. Is there something you'd like to try?
Well, I started in ceramics and then I did watercolor and I've done all the color. I don't not body painting. I'm just kidding. I wanted to see your reaction. No, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think on that.
So are you looking for some people to come in and body paint then, I guess? That might be interesting. Now, you have a workshop, but do you ever, or have you ever considered teaching your technique in art?
That's a great prompt, Larry. I
Okay.
think I might have to start to think about how I do that and put it into practice.
Right. Well, whether you do it in person or we had a guest on just earlier that they do a whole bunch of YouTube and they got a huge YouTube following as a result of that. So it might be
Yeah.
something you could manage that way. What do you like to do outside of art and the other things we've talked about today?
I like to sing
Okay.
and I like to be outside in nature a lot. And I like to spend time with my husband of 25 years or maybe more. I have lost count. And my son, Max, and just to be fully alive, be all in.
Well, that's a great way to philosophy of life. I know I take my philosophy of life from the musical Pippin, birth of the character, and it's in a song. Is I believe if I refuse to grow old, I will stay young till I die.
Is that working out for you?
I think so. I think I'm a
Yeah.
fairly young 70. So
You really?
yes,
I
really.
would have gotten. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll send you a check for that. So yeah, last year I do cycling and I did 1,000 miles in like 18-mile increments. So I did my first ride yesterday. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, try to do that. Well, we're about ready to wrap up. We've got a minute and a half here. We want to give a chance to reprise things that are coming up, your website, how to contact you, and reach out.
Well, the contact is through my website, which is ardrewartist.com. And then the Facebook is ardrew. And then the Instagram has little dots in it, a.r.drew.art. And yeah, even if you type my name in, you'll find me.
Is there a special way to get in touch with you for therapy if somebody wishes to consult with you?
I'm just through the website and
The
the
website?
contact email. Yep. Yep.
Well, we appreciate you coming on Art of the Air, sharing your whole journey, not just art, but everything else that you're doing with our audience. And it's always great to know everything about our guests. This is Anna Drew, and she's telling us all about what she's been doing. And you can find her online just by doing a great search and find out. So thank you so much for coming on Art of the Air and sharing your whole journey.
I love this. I'm so glad you both are doing this. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Art of the Air listeners, do you have a suggestion for a possible guest on our show? Whether it's an artist, musician, author, gallery, theater, concert, or some other artistic endeavor that you are aware of, or a topic of interest to our listeners. Email us at aota@brech.com. That's aota@brech.com.
Hi, this is Alan Harrison, author of Scene Change and Scene Change 2. You're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Media 89.1 FM and on WVLP 103.1 FM. Enjoy and go to the arts.
We are happy to welcome Shelby Munt and Sandra L. Young to Art on the Air. Shelby grew up in Westville, Indiana, and driven by a lifelong passion of storytelling, she chose to pursue a career in audiobook narration, which is how she connected with our wonderful past guest, Sandra L. Young. You can revisit her April 22nd of 2022 archive segment on our website. Sandy has authored several books based in Northwest Indiana. Her debut novel, Divine Vintage, is set in Michigan City. By fate, Shelby's mother sent her a copy of Divine Vintage, and the connection deepened for her as her late grandfather served as local historian in Michigan City. Sandy is well known in Northwest Indiana as author, actor, singer, vintage clothing collector, past vice president of Unity Foundation of LaPorte County, and executive director of the Healthy Communities Initiative. Currently, she is board president of Arts in the Park in LaPorte. Thank you both for joining us on Art on the Air. Aloha and welcome, Shelby and Sandy. Very wonderful seeing both of you.
Yes, thank you for having us.
It's always great to be on with you and Larry, Esther.
Thanks, Sandy. It's so nice to see you.
Well, we're going to start off because Sandy already has her story on our archive and everything, though we'll have her in there. But we're going to focus right now on Shelby. And Shelby, the first question we always start off with is your origin story. How I tee it up by saying how you got from where you were to where you are now. So tell us all about Shelby.
Thank you so much. So as we said earlier, I grew up in very small town, Westville, Indiana. Currently, I live with my husband of 3 years and our 4 dogs. Before there was a love of narrating and a passion for narrating, there was a passion for reading. And in elementary school, I remember that being my favorite part of the day was listening to my teachers read to us. Particularly, I remember, I believe it was my 4th grade teacher would read the Percy Jackson series aloud. And it was just so enticing to sit there and listen to him just bring those words to life for me. But I didn't start reading for myself until my freshman year of high school. And I wasn't great at socializing, but I found myself escaping those kinds of situations by hiding in the library. And so I used to just kind of like wander around in there for a while. And because I was really quiet and respectful, they let me get away with that for a little bit. But eventually the librarians were like, hey, girl, you got to check a book out and read it if you're going to keep showing up here. So I have to shout out to Miss McEwen and Miss Rempala for kind of starting that ball rolling, because I ended up picking The Hunger Games randomly, and I was like, this just looks cool. It's new. I'll just take it and go. And I ended up reading the entire trilogy within a week, and that's when I ended up in my grandpa's home office. And my grandpa is a very, very special person to me, and as I grew up, I learned he's a very special person to a lot of people. He owned his own online used bookstore. However, he was also so much more than that in the community, as you had mentioned earlier. He was a local historian for Michigan City, Indiana. If you have done any kind of historical research for Michigan City, you know the name Michael Fleming. You just do. He was an active member in the Historical Society, and he took his job as the Facebook group administrator for their page very, very seriously. He thoroughly went through and made sure you were who you said you were and that you were relevant to Michigan City somehow before he let you in that Facebook group. He would talk to us about it too. So he did. He took it very seriously. He loved what he did. There was a very deep passion for it. He did pass in 2019, but even today, they'll still reshare his posts, and those usually consist of really cool and interesting black and white photographs, and they'll have very detailed descriptions of the location, what was happening in the picture, or who the people were in the pictures. But at the time when this was happening, he wasn't this really big, cool historian. He was just grandpa who owned a cool used bookstore. And I desperately wanted that box set. I had read it at the library and I loved it for that, but I needed it. I needed that trophy. And I remember rehearsing how I was going to ask him to help me. I didn't have my own money at the time. Like, ordering things online wasn't as common as it is today, so I didn't understand what that even entailed. And halfway through my very rehearsed and well thought out monologue, he cut me off and he's like, "It'll be here in a few days." And that's essentially when my passion for reading and my need for bookshelves absolutely spiraled. And then comes the voice acting part of all of this. Ironically, as a shy kid, my favorite thing to do, my favorite sport was cheerleading. And I promise this is relevant, and I'm going to get there. I began cheering when I was 5, and I haven't really left the sport since. When I finished cheering in college, I continued on to coach. And aside from that, I was also a first grade teacher's assistant, as well as an ABA line therapist and an English teacher. All of those things are important because they require voice projection. And so I have been training my voice for volume and clarity for 23 years now. Is it your traditional voice acting training? Absolutely not. But I can still last for hours in the recording booth, and my words are relatively clear because you have to be very clear and concise when you are instructing for cheerleading, or when you're giving a first grader directions, or when you're teaching seniors in high school. You have to have that clarity and that understanding in your voice. And then, the socially anxious part of me also loves that I'm allowed to do retakes when I need to.
Well, Shelby, I'm going to ask you a question right here. Is a lot of times people have a performance thing. Like Sandy has obviously performance and everything, but have you done any kind of performance like theater or anything like that? I mean, you said, well, maybe you're kind of a shy person. And of course, actually, a lot of actors are actually shy off stage. But anyway, have you done anything like in theater, which definitely sometimes leads to being able to have control of your voice?
So I haven't had any theater experience. I love and appreciate the theater. I don't have experience in that, but I do have experience in cheer. And it's a very, very performative, especially what I did, because I did sideline, but I also did competitive. And in competition, you're out, you are shouting out your words with your team. You are performing in front of people, in front of judges. And that does take a certain skill to go out there and to do that confidently. And a big part of what I did when I was in competitive cheer, we still had that cheering aspect where you had to have the words and you had to get the crowd to respond to you. That was the whole goal of the cheerleading part, or the cheer part of the performance, was I'm talking to you, do as I say, and talk back to me. And so where it's not theater, it was still performing, and it was still definitely that voice projection that we see in voice acting.
So Sandy, how did you and Shelby connect?
Well, Shelby sent me an email, and as she said, she'd been sent the books. And when she read Divine Vintage and she connected with it, and sent me this very, very kind email saying that, how much she'd enjoyed the book and that she was doing audiobook narration and would I consider one? Have I ever thought about it? And I first said, no, I hadn't thought about one because I never thought I'd make back my my investment in it. And then she came back and said, well, there is something what you call a royalty share where we both just kind of, whatever we make on it, we split. And I thought, well, that's a cool idea. And then we really hit it off. We went on a Zoom and met and talked just like we are here. And we were brainstorming about it, and I talked about my decades of theater performance, and she said, you can do some voices if you want. Well, that, of course, appealed to me. So my friend Dan Schaff, who has recording ability, I went and sat down with him and recorded 3 of the support voices and recruited my friend, local actor Noel Carlson, to do 3 of the male support voices. And I may have another younger actor friend who's Chicago theater actor at this point who is interested in possibly doing our young male voices too. So it's really cool how this has come together. And I love the idea of Shelby branching into this new creativity. I love to support creativity and just kind of that mentor type of role that you can have. And, having someone like her excited about doing this, I just really love that aspect. So it's really not looking at it as just like, oh yeah, I want my book out here as an audiobook. Of just more this really fun project that enables a lot of us who haven't touched audiobook narration to even try it.
Well, I'm a big fan of audiobooks, so I'm glad you're doing it.
So, Shelby, you're relatively new to this, but tell us a little bit about the process of that. And I'm familiar with ACX myself and a few other ones, having done some of it myself. But tell us about the process of how you do that. And do you do your own recording? Do you have your own recording situation? Like, well, I have one here, obviously, and I do my voiceover and things work. But do you have that?
Yes, I do. So this started in a closet with a bunch of books, or not a bunch of books, a bunch of blankets just covering me. And let me tell you, it was the hottest closet I've ever been in. And I had things just strung across to try and hold these blankets up so they weren't leaning on me. And I had done all my research and I was like, oh, I can do a home studio this way. It'll be fine. And it worked. It did work. It just wasn't very comfortable. And so once I did my audition and I booked my first actual narration job, my husband was like, we need to have you not in a closet for this. And I'm like, you know what? I would love to not be in a closet. What options do we have? And so he actually built me a studio. And now it's sitting in our bedroom and it's massive thing in the corner. Is it the prettiest? No. But he actually came up with this idea. I'm going to paint on that and make it kind of like a mural. And I'm going to make it a bookshelf. And for every book that I narrate, I'm putting it on there. But that's just the outside, because the outside, you did what you had to do. But the inside of it does have basically what you have in your studio, where it has the foam on the inside. And then I've got my mic hanging from the top. And I go in there, and it's a lot easier to get in and out of than that closet with all of those blankets.
I'm curious. What software do you record on? I mean, because a lot of our people might be interested in that.
So I use Audacity right now. I have been told that eventually I'll probably want to switch, but Audacity is free, which is nice. And because it's free and a lot of people use it, it was very easy to find tutorials for it. And so there's a lot of other people that I can go to and kind of research and see what they do to apply it to what I'm doing. Right. And that has been a very good resource. Yeah,
Audacity is actually a very powerful tool in everything. And unless you're doing multi-track music, and in Audition, you have to pay the monthly fee and everything like that. And unless you really have income, it's a very powerful tool. I mean, that's what we do Art on the Air on is Audacity. That's what I do my voiceovers for and promos for this WVLP and for Lakeshore Public Media.
So, Sandy, is there a projected release date for the audiobook?
We are being pretty flexible with it at this point. I think that we're, shooting for May potentially, and because Shelby is doing all of the editing and putting it together. And the cool thing about that would be that on May 8th, we are doing another Divine Vintage Story Walk around my debut novel in the Uptown Arts District. So it would be great to be able to let people know at that point that the audiobook is available, because as you said, Esther, there are people who love audiobooks, and I think there's a whole new audience that could be interested and read Divine Vintage, listen to it once that we put the audiobook out.
You're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Media 89.1 FM, on WVLP 103.1 FM. So Sandy, why don't you tell us more about the walk, the Divine Vintage Walk? It sounds so exquisite.
This is the third time that I am working with my friend Allison Gosshorn. She has Blue Bonsai, which is a company that puts together walks. And so they have an aspect of healthiness, but also they tie around a lot of different community features. And in Michigan City, of course, it's tying into places in the book. We start at Barker Mansion because that was the inspiration for Carver House, which is the haunted mansion in my book. And then we go down to Franklin Street. We go into the Episcopal Church where a wedding takes place. We go to Good News Vintage because vintage fashion is part of the vibe with the book. We go down to the library, on to Lebezic Center, the old lighthouse, and because, of course, the Lakeshore is in the book. So each of these places are partners there. They get to talk about their location. So what people who go on the walk find is they're learning new things about Michigan City, even if they've grown up here. And we've had great feedback. And this year we are very fortunate. We are partnering with the Center for Creative Solutions in their World Innovation Week. And that's coming up soon. Ours is going to be a little later just because of the weather and Barker Mansion availability. But it's really fun for us to be able to partner in on this great creativity week as well.
So Sandy, have people on the walks, have they dressed up in vintage clothes to take the walk?
I can't recall anybody else doing it. I always do, of course. But I don't recall that anyone else has. That would be very fun if they did.
Yeah,
And
well, it certainly
we would
will be in
encourage
vintage.
that. Yeah, we would encourage it if people came in vintage, even if it's just a vintage hat. We hope by May 8th, we start at 10 a.m. at Barker Mansion, and there is an Eventbrite link, so people could go onto Eventbrite. Actually, go on my website. It's sandrayoungauthor.com. You've got both the Eventbrite link, and you've got a QR code for the AutoCast, which is the non-guided tour version. People can take that on their own and they can walk this tour, listen to the script that I and another narrator did for it, and they can also see pictures of the places we're visiting. So that's another thing that we see as a boon for downtown Michigan City, is this free AutoCast.
So Shelby, do you ever get back to Michigan City? Have you been on one of Sandy's walks?
I have not done a walk yet, but that is top priority for when I get there, when those are happening. I fly home very frequently to go and visit my mom. She lives there with my stepdad, and I have two younger siblings that live with her, and then one younger sibling who lives on his own down there, or up there. So I get there as often as I can, and it's such a good connection to have with Sandy and like my grandpa, and connecting it all. Like Michigan City was my go-to place for everything when I was younger. So I adore this connection that we've made with that.
So tell us about the first book you did. I think it's called Where the Wildflowers Grow, and how long you worked on that, and how long that's been out.
Yes. So I think I've gotten very lucky with the authors I've been able to connect with. Chrissy was so sweet and so kind and very flexible. And her and I just bounced back and forth so naturally. The story itself is very powerful. There are some trigger warnings. It deals with some very, very heavy themes. And it's a very healing journey to go through with this main character. But the process, I was very fortunate for my very first narration to have an author who was so willing to hear me out and to let me kind of explore and have a lot of free reign over some creative choices. And then she also would let me know when she'd rather me do something else. So we were very comfortable with each other. And it was just that way the entire way through. I would just send her kind of like weekly updates like, hey, I got chapters 15 through 24 recorded. I've been editing chapters 5 through whatever, and just kind of keeping her updated. Some authors prefer that. I've heard other authors are just like, see ya, just let me know when you're done, which is okay too. It was a really great experience, and I was very fortunate. Like I said, the story was very powerful. There were times in the booth with that one where I had to pause and kind of take a break for my own mental health and just kind of be like, it's a healing journey for a lot of people, including myself. So there was moments for that, but at the end, it is a cowboy romance. So we do love that part of it. That was always fun to kind of have those moments, but then to come back and be like, oh yeah, he's wearing a cowboy hat. So it was definitely the right balance of like some very serious topics paired with that like happy feeling of the romance that you get when you read those kinds of books.
Now, looking at your ACX profile, which for our audience who doesn't know, that's the Amazon availability to do that. What's the kind of genres that you like to do? I mean, you're kind of just starting out in this, but you sort of want to do that. I know, like for me, I always like the traditional male voice type thing. I call it the Midwestern standard. But what do you like to do?
So as far as genres go, I am really open to a lot of things. I have always read really intense fantasy. So I'm always down to do that kind of thing. But I have found I'm just very drawn to contemporary. Both of these books have had that kind of feel to where it's, natural characters like you and me going through these times or having these really interesting things happening to them and kind of diving into those. I find it's really easy to connect with those kinds of characters. With my first one, she had a little bit of a rougher childhood. And then she was growing up, going to college. And I can remember being like, in that kind of mindset of growing up and having these things happen. So it was really easy for me to just shift right into being her. With Tess, I love Tess so much. She's so sassy, so funny, and so like, I don't know, down to earth and has a very big heart. And I feel like I can relate to that as well. So it's really easy for me to just slip right into her shoes and become her for those moments when I'm narrating for her.
So Sandy, with because you have 3 books now, is that correct? 3?
Yes.
So did one naturally lead to the next? So as you're writing the first one, are you already thinking about the second one? And how is your process with all the books? And I know you said you had another in process now as well.
Well, with my series, the Divine Vintage series, I actually wrote them as linked novellas. I just sat down and they poured out. And so I wrote one, then the next, and the next. And over the years, I pulled them apart and really refined them all. And got Divine Vintage published, then moved to Divinely Dramatic, set at LaPorte Little Theater, and then finally The Ghostly Diva, which is set at the LaPorte County Museum, the Society Museum. And those 3 just really were just this really flowing continuum. And then I totally jumped genre, but they have a historical aspect to both of all 3 of them. Then I did a biographical historical with tons of research set at the West Baden French Lick hotels. And that one, Esther, actually just a small press, a traditional small press out of Texas is reading that one with the potential to offer me a contract. I am traditionally published, and I like the traditional publishing mode because I don't want to do the tech of self-publishing. So at this point, I am hopeful that I may get an offer from them or another small press and move Lillian Sinclair's story out into the universe too, because it is a really special, true story. The history in that just blew me away.
Oh, I'm sure the research was just devastatingly hard.
Oh, not with the internet. You imagine if it wasn't now where you could get so much off the internet. Though there was a 660-page book that it took me going through the Michigan City Library. I have a friend, Christine Long, is one of their research librarians. She got it for me from Ball State. She had to do a request for them to send it because it's so huge and it's out of print. And that just was a wonderful research by James N. Vaughn. So it took a long time to get my hands on that book, though.
I sort of meant actually going there and staying must have been
oh, yes,
such a trial.
That is what really led me down the path to doing it. I was so amazed by this beautiful dome.
So beautiful.
And I took the hour historical tour, and it just really inspired me to think about writing that story from the point of view of the daughter of the tycoon who really rebuilt it after this massive fire in 1901. And so it's all set through her eyes. And I discovered all this scandal, around her, life. And it was like, It just really flavored this story so much beyond. I mean, it is truthful, but you have to, in historical fiction, you also can take some license because we can't ever know everything that was said and done and who was in the lives more than 100 years ago.
Well, we're in our final moments here. We want to give you both a chance to say how people can reach out and find you on the website. Sandy, you go first.
SandryYoungAuthor.com. That's where you find information about my books, how to purchase them, the Divine Vintage Walk, and when the audiobook's available, you will be able to find it there. We are going to be, of course, up on Amazon too. And it's been so fun working with Shelb because she's lovely. We are having a good time doing this.
And Shelby, tell us how people can find you.
Thank you. You can find me at phoenixtales.wix site at Shelby Munt Narration. And you can also find me on ACX under Shelby Munt.
Sounds great. And we'll have a link to your picture on our website. Shelby Munt and Sandra L. Young, thank you so much for coming on Art on the Air, sharing the wonderful collaboration that you have with this, and we're anxious to hear it when it comes out.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you again. This has been just a great time.
Yeah, completely. Thank you both so much.
We'd like to thank our guests this week on Art on the Air, our weekly program covering the arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. Art on the Air is heard Sunday at 7 p.m. on Lakeshore Public Media, 89.1 FM, also streaming live at lakeshorepublicmedia.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Media's website as a podcast. Art on the Air is also heard Friday at 11 a.m. and Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP 103.1 FM, streaming live at wvlp.org. If you have a smart speaker like Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, or Apple Siri, just tell to play Art on the Air to hear the latest episode. Our Spotlight interviews are heard every Wednesday on Lakeshore Public Media. Thanks to Dee Dotson, Vice President of Radio Operations for Lakeshore Public Media, and to Greg Kovach, WVLP's Station Manager. Our theme music is by Billy Foster with a vocal by Renee Foster. We'd like to thank our current underwriters for Lakeshore Public Media, Ember Forge Consulting, thoughtful marketing and digital learning built to express your purpose and grow your reach. Learn more at emberforgeconsulting.com/grow. And for WVLP, Walt Breidinger of Paragon Investments. So we may continue to bring you Art in the Air, we rely on you, our listeners and underwriters, for ongoing financial support. If you're looking to support Art on the Air, we have information on our website at breck.com/AOTA, where you can find out how to become a supporter or underwriter of our program in whatever amount you are able. And like I say every week, don't give till it hurts. Give till it feels good. You'll feel so good about supporting Art on the Air. If you're interested in being a guest or send us information about your arts-related event or exhibit, please email us at aota@breck.com. That's aota@breck.com, or contact us through our Facebook page. Your hosts were Larry Breckner and Esther Golden, and we invite you back next week for another episode of Art on the Air.
Aloha, everyone. Have a splendid week.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the Air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the Air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through